think everybody automatically assumes sales enablement, it means sales training. But it's not just that. It also looks at tools. Do people have the right tech stack and technologies to help them be effective in their job? Looks at sales processes. Are you really optimizing the way, that you're working? And in my scope, consider culture as part of my scope as well, because we know all of those things can have a huge impact on the performance of an individual, of a team, and of an organization.
You're listening to the Sales Today podcast, and I'm your host, Fred Copestake. On this podcast, we explore how sales professionals can develop a modern approach to winning business, the application of virtual selling techniques, how to create meaningful business relationships, and much more. Why not take our free collaborative selling scorecard to see how your sales approach suits today's environment? You'll find a link in the show notes.
And welcome to this episode of the Sales Today podcast, where I'm delighted to be joined by Georgia Watson. Georgia is the Sales Enablement Lead at IBM ASEAN ZK. Georgia, welcome to start with. And have I actually even pronounced that right?
Fred, hi. Thanks so much for the invite to join me. And you have got it right. You know, at IBM, we love a good acronym. So ASEAN ZK, it's Australia, it's the whole of ASEAN, it's New Zealand, and it's Korea. So think APAC, but without China and India, basically.
Oh, poor China and India. No, it's the first time I've seen that. I'd say to you before we turned on the record, didn't I? I thought I'd been around a little bit, but I'd never come across that area. Another first for us is, I've done 100 plus episodes, but you're the first guest from Sales Enablement to come on.
Well, I'm glad that you finally got around to us. Took you a little while, but Fred, happy to be here talking about sales enablement. It's a really hot and growing area at the moment. It was a few years back, 6 years ago, there was a really small number of people working in this area, and it's just grown exponentially and is really booming at the moment.
So could you, I think there might be some people listening who even that term might be quite new to them. So could you almost give us the dummy's guide too, if there is such a thing?
Yeah, sure, of course. Sales enablement exists basically to optimize revenue and optimize sellers. So imagine you're VP of sales. It doesn't matter whether you have a team of 10 or 10,000. Imagine if you could make your team perform 15% better, 10% better, hey, even 2% better. What does that mean from a revenue perspective? So this is why sales enablement exists. And the function of sales enablement covers many different areas, but it is really to maximize the revenue and the positive impact that's being created for your clients. So the thing about sales enablement, Fred, is that it means many different things to different people, and it looks different in different organizations. Even in IBM, what I do now is vastly different to what I did for IBM in Middle East and Africa 6 years ago. What someone in global does also looks really different. What is consistent is that it's about, maximizing performance and revenue results for client-facing teams. And it normally includes things like related to skills, so training. I think everybody automatically assumes sales enablement, it means sales training. But it's not just that. It also looks at tools. Do people have the right tech stack and technologies to help them be effective in their job? Looks at sales processes. Are you really optimizing the way, that you're working? And in my scope, I consider culture as part of my scope as well, because we know all of those things can have a huge impact on the performance of an individual, of a team, and of an organization.
Right. That's just that list of 4 things. When you start breaking it down, it's huge. And what came to mind is, you said the word performance, and I started thinking about high performance athletes. And I know that we often draw that analogy, and some people think, oh no, here we go again. But, I was thinking about, top tennis player, say, the number of coaches that they have. People are looking after their nutrition, their sleep, their hitting power, their physical conditioning, their game strategy, their overall kind of bringing it all together. I guess it's kind of like that. Is that a reasonable analogy?
Yeah, it can be. So it can be so different. So in my role at the moment, it is very much a coordinating thing. So to use your analogy, bringing together all those different experts to make sure that the team gets what they need. So making sure we're pulling in the right coaches, making sure that we have the right operation kind of systems in place to help the team, making sure that we have the right tools. So, there's different experts for all of those different components. So it can be very much a kind of coordinating element. It can also be, there's many people who are in enablement who just do coaching, for example, or they just do sales training, or they just manage the CRM to make sure it is the best, working in the best possible way. So many different areas. It is quite a bit of a coordinating role, and it's very varied. And for me, this is what I love about it, is that variety in what you do.
And from what you said earlier in the introduction, it sounds as though it's a developing, or I'm now going to use the old sales thing, science, art, function, I suppose, would be the catch-all. But it's something that's developing. There's almost like no set rules.
Yeah, it is. It's changing. Some of the basics kind of remain the same, right? It's about what really matters. It's about sellers. It's about performance. It's about revenue. But yeah, it does evolve into a myriad of different areas and different niches and specialties within that as well. I think more organizations are setting up sales enablement functions just because they are realizing this. What if we can put these few things in place that will really help our team sell more, sell better? And once you kind of see the impact that having someone really focused on that can have, it's huge for the business.
You said a couple of things there that I love. What really matters, because I sense that sometimes there can be this tendency to do things because we can, or because it's new or shiny or exciting, or somebody else is doing it and it's really good for them. And then you talked about getting someone to focus on it, because the doers should be doing, and can be a bit head down, can't they? Be saying, well, no, look, we'll have you back. We'll look for the stuff that's really going to make the difference here.
Yeah, look, for sure. I think in anything that anybody does, it doesn't matter whether you're a seller, you're in sales enablement, or you're even manning the reception desk. It's about value, right? What value can you deliver to whoever your audience is?
Well, like a good salesperson should be thinking, you're kind of applying it back into the, it's a bit better that, really, isn't it? Looking at the sales team, kind of almost selling to them. I suppose you're selling your services in a way. I mean, that'd be how I get my head around it a little bit.
It can be, particularly in an organization like IBM, where the sales enablement function is very established and can be very big. So there's good and bad that comes with that. There can be preconceptions around, oh yeah, you just do SKOs, or you just do those 1 hour long training sessions. And so sales enablement comes up and it's like, oh, like a big groan. Oh, not another hour long training session. That's the kind of sales enablement you really want to avoid. You want those interactions where, you have anything to do with sales enablement and the response is, well, that's really helped me, or I've been able to close that deal. That's made me more effective. That's allowed me to deliver more value to my client.
Yeah, I was writing down here, the CRM police. Oh no, the CRM police coming along. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, you're grimacing there. Oh God, how many times you heard that? Yeah. Please don't tag me that. I'm supposed to be on here for a bit of fun. So again, it's you're thinking about, okay, what is going to make an impact? What is going to, a difference for them, making a difference for the customer, the client, isn't it? That's the sort of the key to all this. And be that, say, an hour-long training session, coaching. I mean, I think coaching is a biggie. Does that fall under your remit?
Yeah, it does. And it is something that I want to do a lot more of. And maybe I'll just share a quick kind of story, if I may. And it's, I have 2 boys. They're 6 and they're 8. They are mad about superheroes. And the other thing that they are mad about is Lego. So, I mean, really sort of obsessed. And so on the weekend, I was playing Lego with the boys. They each had a new set of Lego that they were going to make. So Max is the elder one. He's 8. Finn is the little one and he's 6. And so Max opened up his bag of Lego and he piled it all on the floor and opened up his instruction book and madly started going through all the steps, putting all the pieces together. Now, the little one, he did the same. He opened up his bag, put it all on the floor, and you know what he did? He stopped and he started organizing all the pieces. He put them into shape, the same size pieces, the same kind of colors. Then he had a look a little flick through the instruction booklet, and then he went back and he reorganized some of them. And so he started building. His brother had been building for a good 5 minutes before he even started. And so Max, he would look at a page, he would rummage through his big pile of Lego to find the pieces that he needed, and then put it in, then look at the next step, go and spend time rummaging again to find the pieces. Now, Finn, because he had his all so organized and together, he didn't spend that time rummaging for the pieces. And I was just sitting there making my own little thing on the side. And as it went along, he stopped a couple of times. And first he said, "Oh, Mum, where does this one go?" And I said, "Oh," putting on my best, coaching act. I said, "Oh, well, where do you think it could go?" "Oh, it could go here or there." And of course, he figured it out and he moved on to the next step. And because he wasn't rummaging for these pieces, and because he kept on stopping and asking, "Oh, well, what do I think?" And I would just give him that response to trigger him, he moved along faster and faster. And he was quickly gaining on his brother, and they're hugely competitive. So, big brother's trying to speed up as much as he can. And then you know what the little one did? He said, "Oh, Mum, I think you should pass me the pieces." So he delegated then to me that I need to give him the pieces. And of course, he had finished his piece, well and truly before, his brother, and big brother wasn't happy about that. And, that was a whole nother issue. But it helped him with this little bit of coaching and this little bit of planning that he put in up front. It helped him to kind of speed along. And so I was thinking about that in terms of sales. When we take that time to stop up front, we do our territory plan. Maybe we figure out what matters. We figure out where we want to focus and then get to work and delegate where we can. And if we don't know something, we draw on a coach. It's so much more powerful from a sales perspective when that can happen. And we know things like coaching. The stats are really crazy. And I'm going to just mention a couple of them now. So now, this is a quote from, it was a sales enablement study, CSO Insights, and it says companies with dynamic sales coaching programs achieve 28% higher win revenues. That's huge, 28%. Yeah. And where there is quote coaching taking place, there's 7% greater annual revenue growth. So imagine even just a 7% difference. That's really big. And we live and work in this time where kind of retention is a challenge as well, right? And so as many of 60% of sales reps say that they're more likely to leave their job if their manager is a poor coach. And that was from the Center of Sales Strategy. So that's huge.
So they are massive numbers. That they are. Because we're often talking about marginal gains, aren't we? And these little increases and stuff. And you're saying, we can come in and we can put big numbers, big increase by doing stuff.
And through coaching. So, as a seller, do you have a coach? Do you have someone mentoring you? If you don't, get one. And if you're a sales manager or a leader, are you coaching your people? And yes, everybody's busy. I know that nobody has time to coach. If you really don't have time to coach, then line them up with someone else. It makes a huge difference. And you don't want to lose, your best talent because maybe they're feeling unsupported or they're not getting the support they need. You want them to not be in that 60% who says, I'm not getting good coaching from my manager, I'm out. So it's huge. And I think in sales enablement, we're really aware of the value of this, and it's a really hot topic at the moment.
No, that is hot. And so I can see why when you gave me that initial list, the usual suspects were on there. You talk about training that. I mean, you said culture, which you think is part of it, because I think even the culture to stop and think about stuff. I mean, I'm sure you've seen organizations where it go do. If you're stopping and thinking, you're not working, and it's frowned on. And it's like, well, that's going to cause you a problem straight away. Forget even the coaching side.
Yeah. And I just love that you brought up culture because it is so important. And, we're thinking about, cultures of coaching, right? But it is really, it's not just coaching, but it's the culture that drives that engagement. And it's engagement that drives performance, right?
Yeah.
A team that's not engaged aren't going to be working optimally and they're not going to get the same results.
Yeah. Yeah, it's if I come back to, and now we step into the motivation area, don't we? Because it's like, can you motivate the team? Well, no. Why? Because they are motivated. It just depends what to do, isn't it?
Yeah.
Engagement is where it's at, and that's part of it. And they're such an important part of the business. We're setting them up to do the very best they can. We're here. We'll give you all the stuff you need. That's another way I
Yeah.
see the enablement thing.
Yeah. Yeah, very much so.
Now then, so the coaching, what you were saying there, again, I think it is worth underlining this, that, if the organization is providing it as a salesperson, please don't push it away. Please don't think you're above it.
Mhm.
Please don't think, again, think of those top elite people in other fields. But if they're not, you're saying, go out and look, because it will pay for itself.
Mhm. For sure.
Yeah.
And you'd probably be surprised too, who in the organization doesn't have to be your manager. Particularly if you're in a larger company, there are people who are just amazing at what they do. And there are those people who really love developing people. You'd be surprised, how many people you reach out to say, hey, could you help me with this kind of thing? I'm having a challenge. It may not be going out and engaging an external service. There may be someone, internal in the company who you can tap and just say, hey, I need some help with this. And it doesn't have to be about a specific deal or opportunity that's coming. It can be even more general than that.
Do you think the salespeople can coach each other, given that's a slight bit of guidance into what coaching is? Is that an option?
So it's interesting that you say
another
that
hour.
because yeah, no, look, I laugh because I've been having this conversation a lot lately because of course doing coaching at scale is quite tricky, right?
Mm.
And in my region, I'm covering a lot of different languages and cultural differences. So I've been kind of grappling with how do we coach at scale and make sure everybody gets that support. And so you can have peers kind of supporting each other, but you need to make sure that that understanding of what coaching is there first. So I love this idea of peer-to-peer coaching, or I would say peer-to-peer reviews,
Mhm.
because unless someone really knows how to coach, it may not be in a coaching style. The coaching is really about prompting the other person and helping them to solve the problem themselves, not just having someone say, oh, well, here's how I did it with client X, Y, and Z. And that's potentially what might happen with peer-to-peer review. But hey, if you can, enable more people around coaching, it's even more effective. But there's certainly a huge role for doing this peer-to-peer review and just getting extra eyes and extra perspectives on things.
Yeah. Well, look, the argument would be that a good salesperson is good at asking questions. They're good at helping people to think. They should be helping them make sense. So actually, they should be easier to convert into a coach or give them like a coaching mode to flick to, which they can then actually even use with clients. So that's why I was thinking that should make sense. It's just, again, being deliberate
Yeah.
about what you're doing with your colleague, which kind of what you're doing with clients, isn't it? Or should be. I don't know. Or am
Yeah.
I too idealistic?
No, look, it should be. As you say, it should be, but it can be really easy to jump in and solution something and here's the product and here are the features and, here's how it works and here's how it looks under the hood, right? So it might be a mindset shift change for some people.
So if you're doing that, you're selling, you need your training. And then the training should be about
Yeah.
questioning, which you could then actually start to practice by helping your colleagues get their heads around the stuff they're doing. I don't know, maybe
Yeah.
trying to be super effective. I'm lazy. Give a lazy person a hard job. That's the that's the maxim, isn't it? Because then they'll work out how to make it super effective. No, cool. Okay, so lots of elements to it, and it's really just picky. You have so many options, don't you, to pick to say, well, like, I think if we bring this in, it's going to help you you do your job better. People resist, though, don't they? Or can they can? Why do you think that is? And again, let's talk specifically with salespeople. But it's probably just people, to be fair, but
For me, it's about value, right?
all right,
If you
okay.
know anything is going to add value to me and it's going to be worth investing my time and energy in, I'm going to do it. So if you're delivering something of value, people will be more inclined to get involved. But, you said, why are salespeople kind of a bit skeptical? It's hard, right?
Yeah.
When you have someone hounding you around numbers, cadence, maybe you've got all kinds of things going on with your clients you need to deal with. So it's hard then to say, oh, let me just stop and take 2 hours out to brush up on my skills. So it has to be that kind of balance of people. It's a mindset shift, right?
Yeah.
Our skills are our currency. As a seller, your skills and that value that you can bring there's nothing more important than that, basically. So now more than ever, people really need to have this growth mindset and continually be investing in their skills. And I know this isn't always a natural inclination for sellers. I think anybody in tech sales, it's always a much easier sell as enablement to get people on board and involved in programs. But when people do come, if you're delivering something of real value for them, next time you say, hey, we've got this thing going, they will be there because they know it is going to help them do their job. But you have to design your sales enablement programs that way as well, right?
Yeah.
It has to be fully aligned to whatever the organization's strategic priorities are. It has to be really aligned to where your sales teams or anybody client facing, it doesn't have to just be sales, right? But where they really need the support.
Yeah. Yeah. And then again, we've got to practice good selling, haven't we? To explain that this is why this hour session or this coaching session or whatever we're saying is a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, it's not like selling, probably any kind of work is getting easier, is it? The changes, VUCA, we're in a VUCA environment, the volatility, uncertainty, complexity, ambiguity. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
do you think it will become easier for us, because I'm training, so I'm part of sales enablement really, aren't I? Easier for us to help people, I guess, is the question I'm asking. Is that going to get easier? People going to be more, I don't know, looking for this, asking us to come in, or are they going to get into panic mode and kind of like, oh, no, I can't do what I'm doing, and get that tunnel vision thing that goes on when we're under pressure?
Yeah, a great question. It could really go either way. One thing that we do know, and there's a quote that I love, and it's Justin Trudeau said it a few years back, and he said that the pace of change has never been this fast, but it will never be this slow again. So things are changing really rapidly. And as you say, there's kind of two responses to that, right? One is to just tunnel vision and let me really focus where I need to focus. And the other one is to say, whoa, there's a lot going on. How can I work smarter or differently or better in this kind of ever-changing environment? So look, let's see which way it will go. I like to think it's the later, and that people are really more open to understanding what different and better and alternate approaches are to do things. But I don't know, maybe I'm being naive. You tell me.
Well, it's like I was earlier. Yeah, I like to see the good or a bit idealistic. I don't know. I wonder whether, and it's certainly something I've seen, it's the split's going to be kind of, you mentioned it already, the fixed and growth mindset. The fixed mindset will become more fixed because they'll get more frightened. The brain does funny things when it starts to get, under that pressure and or freeze, fight, flight goes on. But the growth mindset will be more open. We might have some tricky decisions, or is it not a tricky decision? I don't know. But there is a decision as to where we're going to put our time and effort. We're trying to save people, or are we going to be working with the people who are open to this, and we can get those massive numbers and that big benefit that you're talking about?
Yeah. Look, for me, I go where there are people who are ready to partner and who want it. You can go and bang your head against a wall all you like, but you're just wasting your kind of time and energy. So where I get support for things, where I know sellers are on board and I know it's really going to deliver value for them, for me, that's where to focus. And if people want to sit with that fixed mindset, well, do that. Good luck. Might work in the short term, but long term, I think you're going to be in trouble.
Let us know how it goes. Oh no, you might not be around. No, I'm being a bit flippant, but I'm similar. I'm the same now. I said now. I did go through a period where I was trying to save our souls, I think. I used to have a big flowing head of hair, bit of wig pulled out by sending myself slightly nuts doing it. But no, now it is, I'm actually pretty, not brutal, but look, there's not enough time to be working with everyone. So let's work with the people that are going to take this, are going to make a difference, are going to be enjoying it. And actually, just quite frankly, we'll want to work with. So yeah, I'm same way there.
And interesting that you mentioned time as well, because this is sort of the biggest barrier that everyone is up against for everything. And when I think about, before you asked, what is it about top performing sales teams? And for me, it kind of came down to kind of two things. It's about how they're using their time, and it's about skills also, right? So are they using their time effectively and focusing on that really important, valuable stuff? Or are they spending their time stuck in a CRM? Are they looking at, reports and doing all that other fluff that can take up a salesperson's time rather than doing what really matters? And then the other kind of part is the skills. So do they have the right skills to help them do it effectively? Do they have the right tools in place to support them? So yeah, time.
Yeah. It is. And like you say, when those top performers who want to spend their time doing the stuff to create the impact perceive that they're doing the thing which is wasting their time, then that, they kind of go into a bit of a mental vicious circle of fed up with all this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this goes back to the Lego story, right?
I love that.
What is the best way to manage your time? Is it to just go digging through all this stuff, trying to find that one bit that you need and plug it in and then go digging for another thing that you need? Or is it to say, okay, I'm going to step back. I'm going to put some structures in place that can help me. I'm going to ask for support. I'm going to delegate the finding Lego pieces to someone else. Or, how can you do it differently or better?
Yeah. Yeah. And of course, differently. Yeah. No, I love the Lego story. I'll be borrowing the Lego story. Please.
Feel free.
I might even go buy some Legos myself today.
Yes, it's great fun. It's great fun. You can never have too much.
You could never have so really, you didn't buy the Lego for the guys, did you? Cool. So, as we start to finish up, we're talking very much in the current, but the current sounds as though it's all about innovation anyway. I know you do have your eye on the latest, part and parcel of the role. What other kind of things do we see in kind of innovation coming down the line?
Yeah. I think now more than ever, we all have to keep innovation in our minds. Everything is changing so fast. We're working in increasingly competitive markets. We know that being able to innovate is a business imperative. And if you're selling B2B, if you're not helping your clients to innovate, then who is? You can go there and sell a box and plug it in for them. Sorry, I work in tech, and say, here it is, it's working. But if you're not really delivering some good value on top of that box, they're not going to be calling you back. You're not going to be their trusted advisor. You're not really going to partner with them in the same way on those big, important projects. I think everybody knows now, right? If you don't innovate and evolve as a business, you're not going to exist. You go the way of Blockbuster and Kodak and all these other, organizations. I work at IBM, and kind of innovation is a bit part of the DNA. IBM's been around for over 110 years. We invest heavily in R&D and have, since kind of the get-go. And IBM has continually kind of reinvented itself over time, continually innovated with the products, the tech, the culture, all sorts of different things. And I don't know if you know this, Fred, I love checking, and I'd love to ask you, if I may, IBM now, hybrid cloud, data and AI, security is where it's at. Think back, over 110 years ago. What do you think it was that IBM made back then? So think 1900s. Have a guess. I know.
Well, the clue is in the name, isn't it? It's business machines. So it would be what a machine was then. Would it be cash registers or something?
Oh, pretty good guess. There's many like weighing and tabulating machines that IBM did back in the day.
Oh.
And my favorite one is this really giant archaic cheese slicer. That was thing in the day. That's where it was, being able to slice your cheese consistently and portion it. So IBM has had this massive evolution from cheese slicer to supercomputing and AI and hybrid cloud. And so all companies who want to be around for a while, they must continue to evolve, right? And so as a seller, are you helping your customer to evolve? And then as individuals too, we have to keep changing the way that we are doing things to find the ways that work best, for us. So yeah, that's my little rant on innovation. I won't tell you about all the new stuff that's coming, but I think it's really about the culture, right? And we have to have these cultures where people can innovate and can try new things internally, because we all know innovation, it can fail too, right? So you need that kind of culture where you can get things wrong, you can learn from it, and you can move on. That it's it shouldn't be career limiting, right?
Yeah. No, well, you're very welcome to carry on ranting like that, because that is exactly the same stuff that I will be saying, which is that if you're just rocking up, pretending to be a website, giving people information, look, websites are better at doing that than you anyway, but websites don't help people think. And I think that's what you're saying there, is by the way that you apply your interpersonal skills, the things you've learned how to do, bringing the perspectives, the insights, helping customers get their head around stuff. That's why you're going to get invited back. But this whole
Yeah.
ghosting thing, it's because they've not had any value from you, and they just trying to figure stuff out. They are still trying to figure stuff out, but you're not part of the equation because you've not brought anything to the party.
Yeah.
So make sure you
It
are
took
helping them get their head around stuff.
Mhm. And more quickly than ever before. Fred, and I'm sure all your listeners know, but that window in which you have to influence people is
Yeah.
significantly smaller, and it's
Oh,
going to continue to shrink, right?
yeah.
I saw in some research from Salesforce that within the whole kind of sales cycle, there's sort of like 17% now of that buying process that sellers can influence. The rest is done on websites, as you say. People have already checked it out, and you have this little 17% window in which you can influence things. So it really has to count, that 17%.
Well, I saw somebody say 70%, but they might be looking at 3 suppliers anyway. So you're now down to sort of just over 5.
Yes.
Make sure you're impactful.
Hmm.
And then
Yeah,
they
for
say,
sure.
actually, we're not going to bother with the other 2. You can have the full 17. In fact, can you help us with these other stuff? And you're coming back up the cycle. Oh, wow. We're violently agreeing with stuff here. These are good podcasts. I like arguing on podcasts, but I also like violently agreeing with things. Oh, cool. Oh, so much stuff we could go into. Where can people get in touch with you? Because I know you do share a lot of this stuff, and a lot of your current thinking you'll put out there and help the world of sales. So it's the best place to get in touch.
LinkedIn is the best place to reach me. Pretty active on there. So Georgia Watson. If I don't come up, you can put Georgia Watson Sales Enablement or IBM. Active there. So really happy to connect with people as well.
Yeah, no, you're very active on there. Yeah, lots of good stuff. So yeah, that would be a great place to contact you. Thank you so much for coming on and just sort of sharing some of the thinking and repositioning perhaps in some people's minds what sales enablement is, talking about good selling, getting into a little mini rant, and then costing me some money and going and buying some Lego to play with and pretending it's to work with business. Oh, Georgia, thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
No, my pleasure. Thanks for the invite.
Thank you for listening to the Sales Today podcast with me, your host, Fred Copestake. I hope you've enjoyed what you heard today. If you did, please get in touch and hit subscribe. And remember, you can take the collaborative selling scorecard for free to check out how your sales approach works in today's environment. You'll find it in the show notes.